When a stranger helped me changing a flat tire, he discovered a car tracker attached to my car. Hey there, I am Jessica, and I'm 32 years old. I found out that my husband was cheating on me most bizarrely, and today I want to share my story with you. Let me begin by telling you about how I even met my now ex-husband. My ex-husband, Darren, and I met through work. The companies we worked for were working on a big project together, and that's how we met. We were both part of the team that undertook the project, and we got to talking. We quickly realized we had a lot more in common, and as the months passed, I found myself getting more and more attracted to him. What was most attractive about Darren was his work ethic at that time. He was a real go-getter and didn't stop working hard until he completed his task. I liked that, and so after we were done with the project, I asked him out. One date turned into two, then two into three, and before I knew it, we were in a relationship. Darren remained a charming, hard-working man for the 3 years that we dated. He made sure to always take care of me and always encouraged me to work towards a better future. We moved in after dating for 2 years, and at the end of our third year together, Darren proposed to me. I was over the moon about it and was super excited to marry him. At that time, I envisioned us living comfortable and successful lives. Boy, was I wrong. About a year after we got married, Darren's company began letting people go, and unfortunately, he was one of them. Darren was beyond upset that his company let him go, and honestly, so was I. He was one of the best employees that the company had, and it was super upsetting to see Darren so low. However, the two of us decided that it would be best for Darren to take 3 to 4 months off of work to recuperate from the loss of a job and find his motivation to work again. At that point, I was the only one paying for everything. Darren had money saved up, but by the time we hit the 4th month, his savings were barely there. While I didn't have an issue picking up the bills, the biggest one being the mortgage on the house that I had purchased before Darren and I got together, I did have an issue with Darren lounging around at home all day and doing nothing but playing his video games. Darren would promise me every day that he'd look for a job, but he never did. And even when he did, he only did it initially. After the 3 to 4 months were up, he got rejected by a few companies, and that was it. He gave up. Since I was the only earning member and I didn't earn enough to support the two of us, I had to pick up extra hours at the office. Then, when I would get back home, I'd have to do the household chores too. I was almost always too exhausted to do anything else. I tried to talk to Darren about it, but he would always tell me that I did the chores better than he did, which may have been true, but I would have still appreciated him doing something. One day, my tiredness and frustration all came to a head. I had just returned home from a long day at work, and Darren greeted me with a snarky, "Why were you late?" His tone made me so mad, I couldn't help but snap, "Why were you so late? I was working. Why do you work so much? You're barely at home anymore. Are you serious?" "Whoa, no need to get snappy. I was just feeling hungry and I wanted to have dinner with you. You took a long time to come, and now it's going to take a while for you to cook too." "I'm sorry for just asking. You didn't make anything for us to eat at all." "Oh, you know I can't cook. You couldn't have ordered something at least." "I didn't know what you'd want to eat." "You have got to be kidding me right now. Why are you getting so worked up? Because all you ever do all day is sit around and play your stupid video games. What else do you expect me to do, Darren? You don't have a job. The least you could do was help around the house by, I don't know, doing the dishes or the laundry or even cooking a simple meal." "You know I'm horrible at that stuff. I have seen you watch a 3-hour YouTube video on how to fix your PS5. I think you can learn how to do the basic chores." "But I could never do it as good as you." "I'm not asking for good. I'm only asking that you contribute something to this relationship. If you can't do that, then you need to find a job because I'm exhausted. I cannot keep working these hours and then also come home to do more work." "Do you think that I'm not trying to get a job?" "Of course I do. I've not seen you apply to a single job since May, and it's been 9 months now." "I have applied to plenty of jobs." "Oh, then why haven't I heard anything about an interview?" None of them responded. "If you'd been religiously applying to a lot of jobs these last 9 months, you're telling me that not a single one of them has responded to you? Are you accusing me of lying to you?" "Maybe I am." "Why don't you prove me wrong? I don't have to prove squat to you. As my wife, you're supposed to have absolute trust in me." "Oh yeah? Then as my husband, you're supposed to help me pay the bills. You're impossible. Why do you always have to have a problem with everything? And why do you always have to nag me? Because unless I nag you, you never get anything done. I feel like I'm your mother with the way that I have to constantly tell you to get things done. Do you not think that it's getting exhausting for me, too? Maybe if you stopped nagging me so much, you wouldn't be that exhausted. You know what? You're all right. I'm going to stop nagging you. I can't spend the night here. I'm going to figure your dinner out. I was honestly fuming. I couldn't stand the entitled behavior, and I needed space to breathe. So I went over to my best friend Miranda's house, and I stayed with her for a few days. After that, Darren tried his best to get in contact with me, and eventually I gave in. After a long talk, Darren promised me that he would be more helpful around the house and that he would start looking for more jobs. That promise of his lasted 2 months. After that, my sister came back into my life. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my sister Lily. Lily and I never had a close relationship. She was always mean to me, and even though she was younger, I was kind of terrified of her. Nothing made me happier than to move out of my parents' home because that meant living away from her. After I moved out, I barely ever spoke to her or even saw her. She didn't even attend my wedding, but I was happy with that. But then she showed up at my house unannounced one day. She told me that she had been doing some self-reflection and that she was sorry for the way she treated me before. I forgave her and we began to repair our relationship. But more than her and I bonding, Darren and Lily quickly became the best of friends. Both of them loved the same video games, and Lily would often come over every day to play them with him. It didn't seem strange to me at all at the time. To me, it was a good thing because my sister and husband were getting along really well. Plus, she and I were beginning to get very close, too, since she almost practically lived at my house anyway. For the next year or so, all three of us spent a lot of time together. And as much as I wanted to be happy about it, I couldn't bring myself to be. Keep in mind that Darren was still very unemployed at this point. Whenever I would bring it up, Lily would shut me down and tell me that Darren was going through a rough patch. Of course, it peeved me that she was taking his side, but I didn't mind because he was at least not taunting me with remarks about me being late. The house was almost always a mess because Darren and Lily would eat like pigs and toss food wrappers all around and then never clean up after themselves. I was now tasked with cleaning up after 2 people instead of 1. I was reaching my breaking point, so I called my best friend Miranda and asked her if she was free to meet me one weekend. I knew I needed to get away from Darren and Lily and talk about what I was feeling. Miranda agreed to meet me the following weekend, and I was happy to finally meet someone other than my husband and sister. However, on my way to the cafe where I was supposed to meet Miranda, I ended up getting a flat tire. I almost broke down crying right there, but I gathered myself together and got out. I tried to change the tire, but I couldn't figure out how to set the jack up. I must have stood outside in the blazing heat for around 15 minutes before a kind stranger walked up to me and offered help. "Do you need help with that?" Yes. I can't seem to figure out where exactly the jack goes here." "Let me help you out with that. My name's Fred, by the way." "Thank you so much, Fred. I don't know what I would have done without you. I'm Jessica, by the way." Well, it wouldn't be very gentlemanly of me if I just let a woman struggle with a flat tire by the side of the road. "That's very sweet of you. Are you from around this town?" "Not really. I mean, I was born and raised here until I was about 7, and then I moved. I only came back for this amazing job opportunity." "Me too, the job opportunity portion only. I wasn't born here. I'm sorry, I'm so awkward. I'm just kind of embarrassed that I was struggling so hard. I mean, you're doing it with so much ease." "There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, if I'm being fully honest here, I didn't know how to change a tire until a year ago." "No way, but you're so natural with this." "I know it sounds insane, but it took a little practice, and I guess I'm pretty good at this. I would get some practice, too, if I had flat tires more often, say. I don't mean to be too creepy or anything, but do you want to maybe get a coffee with me sometime?" "That's a very sweet offer, but I'm married." "Oh, that's too bad." "Oh, what happened? I guess I asked you too soon about that coffee. If I had just waited a few seconds longer, I would have seen this GPS tracker and backed off." "GPS tracker? I didn't know that was there." "You didn't? Then I guess your husband put it in your car when you weren't aware." "Oh my gosh, this is even more embarrassing." "I wouldn't say that. Don't worry about it too much. It should be criminal how easy it is to stalk someone these days, in my opinion. You should just have a word about this with your husband. Yeah, I probably will. Anyways, you're all done. Thank you so much again, Fred. I owe you one. How about you buy me a coffee, but only as friends? Here's my card. Text me whenever. Sure thing. While I was grateful that someone was there to help me out, I couldn't help but think about what the GPS tracker was doing on my car. I couldn't reason out an excuse for Darren to put it on my car at all. I tried to think of when he could have put it on my car, especially since we each have our cars and very rarely drive each other's cars. The only thing that came to mind was the day he told me that he was going to get my car serviced a year ago, which I found very odd because he was always adamant about me doing that by myself. I couldn't dwell on my thoughts for too long because I reached the cafe. I was a little late and Miranda was already seated inside. I rushed in and greeted her. "Hello, I'm here. Where were you?" I was honestly beginning to panic. "I know, I'm so sorry. I got a flat tire and I was struggling to change it. Thankfully, this nice stranger helped me out." "Oh, was he cute?" "Cut it out, Miranda. I'm married. You know, I love you, but I do not approve of Darren. I mean, the man lost his job years ago, and he's just mooching off of you at this point." Yeah, but speaking of Darren, I found something odd." "What do you mean?" "When the stranger, his name is Fred, was helping me change my tire, he found a GPS tracker hidden behind the tire." "What?" "Yeah, I mean, do you think it's odd? Because I, for one, sure did not put a tracker on my car. That only leaves Darren. Do you think it's odd, sweetie? That's beyond worrisome. You need to get to the bottom of this." "Okay, so I should talk to him about this, right?" "No, absolutely not. If you confront him about this directly, he'll lie to you. You need to figure out why he needed to put the tracker on you in the first place." "Maybe because he wanted to make sure I was safe, or also that I wasn't lying about where I was going, which is pretty bad. But he's never needed to know my whereabouts before. He barely even asks me where I'm going." "Yeah, maybe he needs to know your location because he's hiding something from you, like an affair." "Please, that's the last thing he would do. He barely gets out of the house, and the only other woman he talks to is my sister." "Wait, why is your sister at your house when you're not there?" "They like to game together, so whenever she's done with work, she comes over." "That doesn't sound odd to you, especially now?" "I don't want to think about them that way. They're the closest people to me, along with you, of course. They would never, right?" "We can't say for sure right now, so why don't you make a plan about it?" "What do I even do?" "How about you park your car at work on Monday, and then take a taxi back home to see what he's up to?" "This feels wrong. I mean, if nothing is happening, I'll feel horrible." "Hey, you're just ruling possibilities out. If you find nothing, which for your sake I hope you don't, then you can just confront Darren about this." "You're right, I'll do that. Now, I'm exhausted. Let's get some coffee, shall we?" I did not want to think of anything happening between Darren and Lily. I mean, why would they do something so horrible to me? I had been nothing but kind to both of them, so there should have been no reason to go behind my back that way. But over the weekend, the more I thought about why Darren would place a tracker on my car, the more I realized that there just weren't enough reasons to justify it. Darren had stopped caring about my whereabouts altogether, and even if he wanted to make sure I was safe, why would he need to hide the fact that he was putting a tracker on my car from me? There was no reasonable explanation at all. When Monday came around, I was anxious to get to the bottom of it all. I called in sick at work and got myself a taxi back home. When I got back home, I noticed that Lily's car was in the driveway. You need to understand that I leave for work at around 8 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 a.m., Lily's car is in my driveway. I always assumed that she came over only during the afternoons, but clearly that was not the case. I walked into the house with my heart pounding. At first, everything was quiet until I heard the sound of the bed in our bedroom creaking. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera. I quietly opened the bedroom door and saw Darren and Lily in bed together. I snapped a few pictures of them. I felt numb at that point. I barely even remember what exactly happened after that, but I also made sure to record the entire conversation that I had with them. I let the two of them know that I was there by clearing my throat. Darren was the first to hear me, and when he saw me there, his face paled. The two of them struggled to cover themselves up entirely. What are you doing here? You supposed to be at work?" I made sure you were. I parked my car at work and took a taxi back home. That's right. I know about the GPS tracker. I came back to see if you were hiding something. But why does that matter? The real question is, what are the two of you doing? What does it look like, Jessica? No, it isn't, quote, T dot dot dot. It isn't what it looks like. Oh, it looks like the two of you are sleeping with each other. What else could this be? It dot dot dot. It was a mistake, I'm sorry. Please don't leave me. A mistake? No, mistakes happen every day. For a year this has been going on now. Lily, could you just shut up for a second? First of all, stop lying to me, and secondly, don't tell Lily to shut up. At least she's telling me the truth. Look, I messed up. I feel bad right now, and I want you to forgive me. Why did you do it? What did I not do for you to cheat on me? You're perfect. It's not you, it's me. I swear, I just was alone all day at home and I had no one to talk to. When Lily came back, it felt nice. I felt heard and seen again. You know, you'd have had me around a lot more if you just gotten the job. I had to pick up extra shifts just to cover for us. This excuse of yours is beyond pathetic. Oh, yeah, it is. He's never stopped talking about how boring you are and how you're not as pretty as me, not to mention how old you've gotten. Laura, wow. Darren, you're a disgusting man, and you, Lily, I know we've had our ups and downs, but I never expected this from you. I don't know what I did to make you hate me this much, but I'm sure whatever it was not enough for you to sleep with my husband. Both of you are disgusting, vile human beings. I want nothing to do with either of you anymore. Fine by me. And for the record, you've always gotten whatever you wanted. You were always favored by Mom and Dad. The only place I excelled in that you didn't was the dating scene, and it's not my fault that your pathetic husband couldn't keep it in his pants. You broke my marriage because you were jealous. That's pathetic. You can go ahead and leave now, Jessica. Please don't leave me. I'm begging you. I promise I'll get a job. Save it. I can barely look at you right now because all I want to do is punch you, so get out of my sight now. My heart felt like it was shattered. I don't know how I held myself up without sobbing, but I managed to do that until both Darren and Lily left. I couldn't believe that my husband and my sister were sleeping together for a year after all I did for Darren. This is what I got in return. And Lily, I thought we were finally getting better, but she was only there to sleep with my husband. She just came to me so she could ruin my life yet again. I updated Miranda about everything that happened, and she was over at my house in a jiffy. She stayed with me until I was no longer spontaneously weeping, and then also helped me find a good divorce lawyer. It was a great thing that Darren and I hadn't had any kids because this was the last thing I'd want them to go through. Darren kept trying to contact me and get me to forgive him, but I refused to listen to him. We had thankfully signed prenuptial agreements before getting married, so there was no issue about the division of assets. My only issue was that Darren refused to sign the divorce papers. I'm just super lucky that I live in a state where if your spouse doesn't respond to the papers, it becomes a no-fault divorce, and the judge gets to approve or disapprove of the divorce with the evidence I had against Darren for his infidelity and his neglect. The judge barely had to think before approving my divorce. Darren had unwittingly sped up the process of our divorce. It wasn't until 2 months later that he even realized that we were divorced. The only way he found out was because his mother called me to ask me how I could be so crappy to him. I asked her what she meant, and she informed me that Darren had told her that I had been financially abusing Darren and that I had been bringing multiple men home because I thought Darren was not good enough. Of course, I was enraged, and I told her the truth and informed her that we'd been divorced already. I sent her the proof of Darren's affair as well. Let's just say that was not a good thing for Darren. He showed up at my door 3 days later looking miserable. "What are you doing here? Did you take pictures of Lily and me that day?" "Whoa, why are you asking me that?" "Because my parents found out, and now they've kicked me out of the house." "Oh, yeah, I did. I initially was not going to, but then I found out that you've been telling them that I accused you of cheating on me, and then did not believe you when you told me otherwise. I had to defend my honor, so I sent them the picture." "What is wrong with you? I have no house and no money to go anywhere. Oh, you should have thought of that before you cheated on me with my sister." "I told you that I felt sorry for what I did." "Feeling sorry doesn't erase what you did. You are the only one to blame for where you are right now." "Fine, but I'm moving back in here." "No, you're not. I have nowhere to go." Do you not feel an ounce of sympathy or pity for me? Why should I? I was the one that worked my butt off to provide for both of us. I barely slept for 2 years just so we could have food on our plates. I sacrificed everything to give us a comfortable life. And all for what? For you to cheat on me? Did you care about me when you were sleeping with my sister? You put a tracking device on my car, for crying out loud. It was a mistake. No, that was not a mistake. Do you know what was a mistake, though? I trust you. Me covering for you for years when you didn't have a job. I should have left you as soon as I realized that you were never actually going to look for another job. I was a stupid fool for doing that, but now I've learned from my mistake, and I'm not letting you back into my life ever again. You can't just throw away a 6-year relationship like that. Come on, everybody makes some mistakes. I promise I won't do this again. Please, just let me live here until I get back on my feet. I promise I'll look for a job. It's been 3 months since we finalized a divorce, and you still haven't found a job. I don't see any reason to believe you now. Get off my property. I'm tired from work and I don't want to deal with you. Figure your things out by yourself. Goodbye.